For years we were urged to banish fat from our diets, with the notion that fat, especially saturated fat, clogs arteries like bacon grease down a drain pipe. But, mounting evidence suggests this may not always be the case. In fact, many studies are now showing that saturated fat, in the absence of a high-carb and high-sugar diet, does not cause heart disease. We'll get to that in just a moment, and give you the lowdown on the good, the bad and the ugly when it comes to fats. Plus you'll learn how one type of oil has been shown to lower blood pressure and reduce the need for medication by 48%. Before you get the inside scoop on fats, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. We've got amazing new content each week. So let's discover the truth about fats. The idea that saturated fat causes heart disease is called the diet heart hypothesis. Interestingly, this hypothesis was never proven. It was based on observational studies showing that high consumption of saturated fat increased the risk of heart disease. However, in the world of science, it's widely understood that observational studies do not prove cause and effect, just correlation. When we dig a little deeper, we find review after review which disproves the theory of saturated fats causing heart disease. First off, a 2014 review that looked at results from 49 observational studies that included more than 550,000 participants. Plus, it examined 27 randomized controlled trials with over 100,000 participants. This review concluded that a higher saturated fat intake didn't increase risk of heart disease or sudden death. Furthermore, a 2015 review that analyzed 15 randomized controlled trials with over 59,000 participants concluded that reducing saturated fat intake showed no statistically significant reduction in lowering heart attacks, strokes, or all-cause deaths. With study after study concluding the same thing, it makes you wonder if fat really is the enemy. When we look back over the last 100 years, we've seen a dramatic spike in heart attacks and deaths related to cardiovascular disease. But, was this caused by eating fat? Interestingly, in the 19th century, heart attacks were rare, yet the diet of most Americans was dependent on a lot of saturated fat. Since the demonization of saturated fats, such as cheese, cream or red meats, we've seen a huge increase in the consumption of sugar, processed grains, and vegetable oils made from unsaturated fats. All foods which were scarce in the diets of 19th century Americans. When the dietary advice to limit saturated fats began, the push was to encourage consumption of unsaturated fats. These fall into two categories, polyunsaturated and monounsaturated, both of which can be beneficial for our health. They contain essential fatty acids, such as omega-3, 6, and 9. They're called essential as our body can't make them, so we need to ensure we get enough from our diets. However, these fats are not always helpful, and in fact can have negative effects on our cardiovascular system. These forms of fats are mainly from sources such as nuts, seeds, and soy. In their natural form, they can be hugely protective, and play important roles in our body. But with the mass production of vegetable oils, problems occur. In order to make vegetable oil, the fats are exposed to high pressure, chemicals, oxygen, and UV light. This process can alter the shape of the fat molecules, such as omega-6 essential fatty acids, thus resulting in the fats losing a lot of their benefits. In fact, when in this altered state, these fats no longer function how they were meant to, so when we consume them, they can become harmful to the body. The reason for this is the outer layer of our cells, called the cell membrane, is made up of 50% fats, and of that, 25% is omega-6 fatty acid. Omega-6 is like the building blocks of every cell in our body. When we consume omega-6 that is damaged, this can result in our cells no longer being able to work optimally. There are over 1 trillion cells in our body, and each one needs undamaged omega-6 to work properly. Without this, there can be a lack of adequate nutrients and oxygen getting into the cell. Another point to note is that adulterated fats also damage cholesterol. When cholesterol has been damaged, the risk of heart attacks is greatly increased. Plus, these oils cause inflammation. This can result in insulin receptors not working properly, thus leading to type 2 diabetes. An intriguing concept when diabetics have a significantly increased risk of cardiovascular disease. Yet the public has been encouraged to use these oils instead of saturated fats. Now hopefully you realize the dangers of these vegetable oils, but I also want to draw your attention to another even more fatal type of fat, which we'll get to in just a moment. This dangerous type of fat is called trans fat, or partially hydrogenated oil. It's made when vegetable oils are heated to high temperatures, and hydrogen atoms are added. It's commonly been used in margarine, microwavable popcorn, and an array of processed foods. Interestingly, if you put real butter out next to margarine, the flies won't go to the margarine. This has got to make you wonder, if the flies won't eat it, then why has it been promoted as a health food for so long? Regarding trans fats, research has shown that consuming them can have the following negative effects. Slows your metabolism, increases inflammation, lowers your good cholesterol, raises your bad cholesterol, causes diabetes, obesity, heart attacks, strokes, dementia, cancer, and inflammation. Due to the overwhelming evidence that this type of fat is detrimental to our health, the Food and Drug Administration banned it. However, it has still been allowed in products as long as it's less than 0.5 grams per serving. But some food manufacturers have lowered their serving sizes, enabling them to still use this dangerous form of fat. Even small amounts of trans fats can harm health. For every 2% of calories from trans fat consumed daily, the risk of heart disease rises by 23%, and as little as 2 grams of trans fat can be hazardous for your health. Therefore, be diligent to read food labels, and if the ingredients use the word hydrogenated, be sure not to eat it. You may now be wondering, what form of fat should I eat? And there are certain fats that you'll want to make sure you're including in your diet for a robust cardiovascular system. As we already mentioned, unsaturated fats can have marvelous benefits for your health. This is true when they haven't been damaged. Both polyunsaturated and monounsaturated help support cellular function and reduce inflammation. Foods abundant in these fats are often associated with cardiovascular health. So let's explore the best sources of these fats. First off is extra virgin olive oil, which is associated with the longevity of the Mediterranean. It has been found to lower inflammation, reduce oxidation of LDL, bad cholesterol, lower blood pressure, and improve the lining of blood vessels. Research in the Archives of Internal Medicine noted that a remarkably lower rate of mortality was found in those with cardiovascular disease that followed a traditional Mediterranean diet, including lots of olive oil, nuts, and avocados. Another study in this journal compared two groups of participants with hypertension. One group was given extra virgin olive oil, that is cold pressed and not exposed to light. The other was given sunflower oil. This type of oil is easily damaged in the manufacturing process. The group given the extra virgin olive oil had a significant reduction in blood pressure, and their needs for medication were reduced by 48% in comparison to the group given sunflower oil. This study highlights the difference between oil that is easily turned rancid and oil that is kept in its natural form. So I urge you to ensure your oil is extra virgin to get all the health benefits for your heart. Another great way to get these healthy forms of fats is avocado. Interestingly, this is also eaten liberally in the Mediterranean diet. Avocados are a rich source of monounsaturated fats. Studies suggest that diets rich in monounsaturated fats are beneficial for preventing heart disease. For example, one study on 164 participants with hypertension found that a diet high in monounsaturated fats lowered blood pressure and reduced the risk of cardiovascular disease in comparison to a diet high in carbohydrates. A 2001 clinical trial looked at how a diet high in monounsaturated fats improved insulin sensitivity by 9%. This is great news for those wanting to avoid cardiovascular disease, as insulin resistance is a major risk factor. So be sure to include avocados on your list of healthy fats to include in your diet. Another source of healthy fats is a wide variety of nuts in their whole form. We already discussed the importance of getting enough undamaged omega-6 essential fatty acids to ensure your cells can function optimally. One of the great ways to do this is of course eating nuts. Examples of these are walnuts, pistachios, macadamias, and almonds. These contain omega-3, 6 and 9 essential fatty acids. studies indicate that nuts are beneficial for preventing heart attacks and strokes. This is thought to be because they increase the particle size of LDL cholesterol, normally known as bad cholesterol. This is important to note as scientists have found that particle size testing is a more accurate predictor of heart disease. Traditionally, tests have indicated the total amount of LDL cholesterol in the blood. However, many people with low cholesterol were still developing cardiovascular problems. With a particle size test, a larger particle size indicates a healthy cardiovascular system, whereas a small, dense particle would suggest a high risk for heart disease. An increasing number of cardiologists are finding that doing a particle size test gives a clearer picture of arterial health. A review in the International Journal of Cardiology explains that if a patient has low levels of HDL cholesterol, or good cholesterol, and a greater quantity of small, dense LDL particles, they are at increased risk of coronary heart disease events. This is regardless of the individual's total LDL cholesterol. Researchers have also found that small LDL cholesterol is more prone to oxidation. When the particle is oxidized, it can no longer function optimally, thus increasing risk of inflammation and therefore heart disease. But eating nuts seems to help create a larger particle size. A 2015 study on 54 participants found that pistachios increased the size of the LDL particles. Furthermore, a 2013 study looked at the Mediterranean diet. It found individuals who ate nuts had a significant decline in small LDL particles and an increase in large LDL particles and HDL cholesterol levels. The participants who ate the nut-enriched diet also had decreased waist circumference. Having a large waist circumference is one of the major risk factors for heart disease. So the fact that they reduced it suggests that their risk of cardiovascular problems went down. This is great news in the fight against heart disease, and a good reason to ensure you include nuts in your diet. As we just discussed, the importance of particle size when it comes to LDL cholesterol. I'd now like to look at saturated fat and how it affects particle size. Interestingly, it appears that eating saturated fats also increases the particle size of LDL. In fact, in the absence of a high carbohydrate, high sugar diet, saturated fats appear to support our cardiovascular system. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that eating a diet high in saturated fat improved the particle size of LDL cholesterol. This information is slowly trickling down to the public. In 2015, the USDA Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee examined the research on fat and heart disease and weight. As a result, the government removed any limits on dietary fat and dietary cholesterol. However, 35 years of contrary information has meant the damage has already been done. But all is not lost, and I urge you to eat a diet with plenty of healthy fats. However, it's important to note eating too many carbohydrates with a high-fat diet can be detrimental. So opt for a diet with lots of vegetables, proteins, and of course, good sources of fats that we have mentioned. So there you have the lowdown on fats. Let us know in the comments below what's your favorite source of heart-healthy fats. Make sure to stay tuned to my channel to discover more wonderful nutrition and wellness insights. Have a heart-healthy day.